All right, everybody. Welcome to today's talk. It's by Greg. It's titled "How I Will Attack You and How You Will Stop Me." First, a little bit about Synthetic Systems. Synthetic Systems offers complete, best-in-class cybersecurity solutions and professional services. We offer a broad range of services to complement our core cyber practice. It includes configuration, validation, migration, and troubleshooting. Now, a little bit about Greg. He's currently the CEO at Synthetic Systems. He works as the subject matter expert in cybersecurity and works for his clients as a virtual Chief Information Security Officer, or vCISO. He is an expert in assisting smaller and mid-sized companies understand the complex and sometimes daunting process of developing a cybersecurity program. Greg trained in cybersecurity as a contractor at the U.S. Department of Defense, where he developed hands-on experience employing security tasks on network, server, desktop, and mobile devices. As a contractor, Greg developed an extensive understanding of NIST, HIPAA, FISMA rules, standards, and guidelines. Greg was the founder of Jupiter Network, which became one of the most recognized technology companies in the Rocky Mountains. He sold the company to Accenture in 2008. And without further ado, Greg, it's all you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad that everyone's here. I want to thank our partner, Checkpoint Research, that helped me collect data for this presentation. And then also, Checkpoint is one of our main vendors that we use for layered security. Today's topic, how I will attack you and how you will stop me. We'll cover a number of different things, but obviously that main topic is going to be the core of what I'm going to be talking through. Our outline today will be talking about it's time to pay attention to cybersecurity in your business. I'll talk a little bit about the cyber challenges that SMBs have, mostly the fact that they don't know who to turn to and they don't know how to really lock down their businesses and build a cyber defense. We'll cover the type of attacks that we see every day, the weak spots that we see in most SMBs, and then we'll talk mostly about the weaponization of the biggest threat vector, and that's your email. We'll learn how email really works, and then I'll go into how I would attack you, and then after that, the next steps will be how to stop an attack like this, prevention steps, and how to secure your data, how to use a multi-layer protection approach, and then we'll talk about how we actually protect your businesses, and give you some examples. So let's get started. How I will attack you, how you will stop me. Your virtual front door is 500 milliseconds away from anyone in the globe. It's time to pay attention. This example will show you exactly how an attacker would find you, how they would do an attack, and how little of time it takes to actually get attacked and get breached. So the biggest challenges that we see are that half of the attacks on a small business actually result in a breach, and then after that, 81% of SMBs don't have a resource or a security person or a security vendor that they need to look through. So what type of attacks are we seeing, and what's the whole point of these attacks? So first and foremost, every attack has some sort of social engineering aspect to it, and you'll see that when I go through the example. So first things that everyone's going to be looking for is some sort of credential theft, and how they do that is they phish and they use malware to do that. So you've probably seen how this looks in some sort of spam email that you're getting. And we've seen less ransomware and more extortion than we see of anything else. We see a lot of insider threats happen with bad actors being employees, or employees unknowingly clicking on some sort of website and going to a malware capture site. There's a lot of remote access breaches lately now with remote work from home, and sharing the community Wi-Fi, the wireless, with your kids, the friends of your kids, and sometimes even neighbors. So we see a lot of remote access breaches happening that way through open Wi-Fi connections. The devices that we see being attacked are, as I said, home suite unsecure home. A lot of businesses don't know what types of networks their employees have deployed, whether they've actually been secured. Are they using a strong password? Are they using the standard admin password? And then we see laptops because they're mobile. Sometimes laptops are shared in families between the employee and the kids, and maybe even a spouse. So laptops are obviously very concerning when businesses are either lending out laptops, or sometimes they'll allow your employees to bring their own devices, and that includes their cell phones. So securing the cell phones is important. The laptops is important, and then obviously now that we've moved to the cloud, email and cloud-based apps are very important. Obviously, email being the biggest threat vector, but cloud-based apps, I think a lot of people just think that, oh, it's in the cloud, so my data is safe. That's not necessarily true. There are steps that you need to take to make sure that your cloud-based apps like Teams, Dropbox, Amazon Web Services are all secured. And then we see a lot of old devices, like I call it in the broom closet, the servers and the wireless devices and your routers and whatever electronic devices that you don't want to see. We see a lot of those devices kind of get ignored just because they're out of sight. So what do we see? We see a lot of not so much ransomware anymore. We see more data extortion, where they're going to just say, hey, we have your data, pay us, or we're going to expose you, your business, your clients, your employees. So there's a risk of trusting the familiar. The most familiar aspect that you're trusting in your business is an email. So that's the largest threat vector. And attackers are using that weaponization of legitimate tools to get to your business. So let's talk a little bit about how email works, and so you have an understanding of how this attack is going to happen. So we have three things that we do: SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. SPF is a security protocol that says this is the cloud app that I'm using, and this is how to point to the Exchange mail server, or the Microsoft mail server that's either on premise or in the cloud, or maybe your Gmail on the cloud. There's also Cloudflare. There's a lot of other cloud applications. So SPF is the first line that you'll see. Almost everybody will have an SPF. The next and most important piece is called DKIM. And then this uses security keys, and you'll have a public security key and a private security key. With that security key, when you send your email to your recipient, DKIM will say, hey, here's the public key for this DKIM, and then you'll have your private keys for your DKIM, and that validates that you're actually owning that domain, and this is a valid email coming from me to to the recipient. And then the DMARC piece will tell you what to do with the risk and the type of how you're going to handle this email as a recipient, whether it's going to pass or it's going to get rejected and get sent into spam, or it's going to get quarantined. So we'll start with the attack. So basically, as me, I would go and search for a website that's not secure. So in this, you'll see that it's not secure. Here's some information, general information. It's a financial group, high target. You even got your founder here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to MX Toolbox, and I'm going to do a text lookup. As I was talking before, everyone has an SPF. It tells you where it's going. It tells you that this belongs to the domain and how they're sending it, and they're sending it from Network Solutions. So I've got a lot of information here really quickly. All of this is done through some sort of automation. So it's not necessarily a person just sitting here and doing this like I'm doing now. I actually did this last evening. So I did not do an automation piece. I wanted to show the way that human. So this is all social engineering. So the next piece I already know that RS is actually the owner or the president, and I'm going to use Snove.io, and this is a tool that you can pay for, or it's free, and it's going to show me all the emails that are in this list that I can use for my attack. So without the DKIM and the DMARC tools, I know now that I can send or spoof that domain, and I can send to either RS or EWW, as you saw before, and I can start to do what we call a phishing email. So an email that looks real but isn't real. Someone will click on it, and I'll get that information. Or in this case, this is an electronic wallet. So I'm going to ask for the credentials for the wallet. I'm going to try to get them to sign this, and I'll send this over and over and over to those people until eventually they're going to say, oh, this is a valid email from my coworkers. I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And in these, they make them look very, very similar, right? So most people don't actually open both transactions and say, oh, the colors are different. This is sending me to a different site than the original. There's an interesting in the malicious transaction. Hey, this is a harder push to go and sign this wallet. So someone will go, they'll sign this wallet. Transaction is done. In this case, they would take any cryptocurrency that's in this wallet. So how do we stop all of this? And this is where us at Synthetic Systems get involved. We can guide you in this, and we do have some knowledge out on our website about how to do this. So the number one thing that we said is we'll set up a DMARC. This is the DMARC. This is what it looks like. And what you're seeing here, when it passes to none, it's going to send an email to this domain. The domain email admin will get this, and that will flag that, hey, something malicious is happening, and it's either quarantined or spammed. In this case, it goes to a mail server. And then the next piece you'll see is, here's that important DKIM. And this DKIM is this is the public key, and you have a private key that you'll put into your mail server. And that private key will match with the public key, and that validates that this domain actually is the proper domain. So you can't spoof that domain. So as I talked before in the earlier example, they didn't have a domain key. So that means that I could put into my DNS server or maybe I could go to Cloudflare. I can set up a fake domain called notes.tlic.com, and I can send an email and it's going to look like I've sent that from that domain, that it's valid, and then the end user is going to click on that because it's assuming that this is a legitimate email because it did not get quarantined. So this is the most important aspect. As I said before, your SPF is automatically in here. This group uses Outlook, so this is how they send the email from the domain out to Outlook. So most people will have this in their record. And this, again, I mentioned earlier, this is all done through a popular tool called MX Toolbox. It's free. You can just go sign up and you can pick any domain and you can start to search. So attackers will load up 100 domains into that MX Toolbox. And when they find the records, they'll usually just see that one record. They'll know that there's no key here, and they know that there's no DMARC. So now they have the tools to spoof your domain and try to do what we call a fatigue attack onto your system. Very, very important. So this is the first step of making sure your business is protected against an attack. The second step is two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication is, as you're starting to become accustomed to, is when you log into somewhere, you put in your password, and then in the next page it'll say we've just texted you to your phone. You put that phone number in. That validates that you're the person on the other end, and then you get in. One of the things that we see a lot of is that someone will say, "Oh yeah, you've been attacked. We need to do a remote support session." You'll start to share your information with your computer, and then they'll log in to whatever account, let's say your bank account, or maybe your Facebook account, and then they're going to say, "Oh well, we just sent you a code onto your phone, and can you tell us that code?" That's an attack happening in real time. You want to make sure that you never share that code ever in your two-factor authentication. So once that happens, you should end the session, hang up the phone, hang up the whatever you're doing